One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the new off-Broadway musical Saturday Church, book and additional lyrics by Damon Cardasis and James Ijames, music by Sia, additional music by Honey Dijon, directed by Whitney White, choreographed by Darrell Grand Moultrie, music supervision, arrangements, and orchestrations by Jason Michael Webb and Luke Solomon, and conceived for the stage and based on the Spring Pictures movie written by and directed by Damon Cardasis. It is running through October 24th at New York Theater Workshop at 79 East 4th Street in New York City. We're collecting offerings over at my Patreon page, where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support this channel, as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee. Patrons get early access to the latest episode of the podcast, as well as additional goodies like restaurant videos and retro reviews. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. Links to my Patreon and podcast pages will be in the description. Musicals can inspire and uplift, especially musicals that focus on elevating people who historically have been marginalized. This is the case with Saturday Church, which focuses on Ulysses, played by Bryson Battle, a young black man who comes of age and discovering his homosexuality and interest in drag. His mom, Amara, played by Crystalline Lloyd, is an overworked nurse and single mother who has to routinely work double shifts to keep the bills paid and food on the table. Essentially absentee, Ulysses depends upon his church to find some personal fulfillment, especially by wanting to sing in the choir. Unfortunately, his Aunt Rose, played by Joaquina Kalukango, does not like her nephew's attention-drawing expressions when he does sing, and wishes he'd toned down the flamboyances. When he meets Raymond, played by Jackson Kanawa Perry, a gay man who is immediately taken by Ulysses, he is invited to visit Saturday Church, a repurposed church that has Saturday evening gatherings for people who have been shunned by other churches, families, and communities. Essentially, it's a safe space for people who have nowhere else to go. Saturday Church is going to be a celebrated musical for the LGBTQIA community. As I said, it is empowering and inspirational, especially for people who can relate to the repression and prejudice that can come from places like a more traditional Christian church or the home. This is all great. I encourage anyone who has felt this prejudice to see Saturday Church, and anyone who wants to learn a little bit about the culture and the struggles they can face, definitely come see the show. The thing is, in the grand scheme of musicals, Saturday Church is okay. Sia isn't a musical theater composer, and though her songwriting in general is enjoyable, her songwriting for the theater is limited. Everything sticks to solos, or solos with backing chorus, or a large full ensemble song. There isn't anything as nuanced as a multi-layered duet, trio, a small ensemble piece that represents the complexity that more musically challenging musicals have. Also, the Book of Saturday Church plays it pretty safe with the plot. The first act is very exploratory, celebrating the community of the Saturday Church, which is nice and all, but the conflict between Ulysses and his family and church is pretty much set on the back burner for Act 2. There's the promise of it, but it waits way too long for secrets to come forward and the real heart of the conflict to heat up. There's also the promise at the top of the show that the musical is about two people, Ulysses and Ebony. Ebony played by B. Noel Thomas. Yes, Ebony is important to the plot, but the character is promised in a way that I don't feel pays off. Ebony runs the Saturday Church, but after a personal tragedy decides to take a step back. It feels like, in order to slim the musical down to about 2 hours, that some of her plot was diminished in favor of Ulysses' plot. Though the score isn't terribly complex, the composition and performances of the vocals are quite electric. Bryson Battle has a beautiful voice, and he and Jackson Kanawa Perry's romance is delightfully sweet and tender as it begins. Kalukango gets a couple great moments to show off her pipes as well. Of course, we can't forget J. Harrison Ghee, who plays two roles, Black Jesus and Pastor Lewis. Ghee is the nexus of the show as Black Jesus, who comes to Ulysses to offer guidance from time to time and serves as a musical narrator from time to time. And they do a great job of being the voice of wisdom whenever necessary. Joaquina Kalukango brings fire and passion to Aunt Rose, and B. Noel Thomas gives Ebony a world-weariness that is palpable, but also a rich overflowing of heart and love from the character. The two real treats of the show are the musical's comedy relief duo, Heaven and Dijon, respectively played by Anania and Caleb Quezon. They are there to provide levity, and their competitive nature with each other brings some great tension to give that comedy a bit more texture. The set centers around the Saturday church, painted entirely in purple, so much so that Marie Schrader would be envious. I like David Zinn's use of platforms that stack into each other and extend for multi-purpose staging. Queen Jean's costumes are excellent, especially for the outfits for J. Harrison Ghee as Black Jesus. Saturday Church addresses the bonds and conflicts within blood families and found families. Neither can ever be perfect, but if there is love to be found within, there can be hope for both. It's not the most complex musical, and its conflict can use some beefing up, but it is a musical I encourage people to see, especially those who feel like they may not have somewhere else to go. It's uplifting and hopeful, and if one can get that from a musical, it is worth checking out. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Saturday Church, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon and podcast pages, as well as my social media handles where you can follow and support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this review, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the national tour of Austin's Pride. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.